The chaos after. I'm not late. I'm right on time. Robert Chess says always late. Time
Well,
is it?
6:02.
No, you guys are just 2 minutes behind.
That's right.
Howdy,
Keeping
boy.
watch.
Going through. Oh, look, Bone Pile already kicking it off tonight. Good job, Bone Pile. Good job. Derek, you just get off work?
Yes, it did.
I don't know where
Check.
I don't know. I don't know if anybody else is coming on.
That might be just us this time.
Oh, Benny's little friend. She's on.
She got to get on to see if you remember her name this week.
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure it just cut out or something. Minix 95. He shows. James Myers. Hello, gentlemen. Well, we had a fun last week, right?
That's right.
And the propaganda is already kicking off. So as everybody knows, last week we had the Cass River Ranch West Siberian. Like us. Hello, gentlemen. Randy Riggs, he's here. So last week we had the Game and Fish Commission meeting. Oh, there's Benny. There's Benny.
There he is.
Now the show can begin.
Oh, criminy.
Well, first of all, let's just get some news over with. I don't think we're going to be on W no more on Thursdays. So, but I do have our own platform. You can go to rss.com and find us. Look under free casting. You can go to Spotify and find us, free casting, or you can go to Apple. Those are the two main ones, Spotify and Apple. And look us up. Look at Benny. Got him some more cookies.
There you go. Well,
There's Benny. There's Benny. She's already asking where he is.
Ah! Man.
I told you.
You guys, I don't know what you can do to get on Madison's good side, but
hey, I got some cookies.
Yeah, it's good. It's working.
Tell you what.
So
there you go. Look at the peanut gallery. Come on, Cody.
He didn't save none, did he?
He absolutely did not. But I guess he was playing the I have a bad arm kind of deal.
Oh
yeah, he milked it.
Oh, gosh, I think that you can still see his tendon. They never did graft him.
I'm asking if he wants to jump on tonight if he has time.
Yeah, he needs to tell the story about when they were going to graft his skin. That's a cool story.
I called him asking him a bunch of jaguar questions.
Woo!
Let me see what he's.
There's more than just regular kitchen ingredients in those cookies. There's got to be about 92% love added to that stuff. Whoa.
Oh, yeah, they're good. They're good. I tried to hide them, but I couldn't hide them, and my kids cleaned me out. Let me send
Cody.
Cody.
I gotta figure out how to get on that list.
Copy. Let me send Cody a link. Okay, so Brett's been putting some teasers on interview stories and tells with the Warner Glenn stuff. Now, I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's going to happen, but once he gets all his stuff done, Freecasting may have that Warner Glenn on their podcast.
That'd be cool.
The whole interview.
How come what happened with the W deal?
Just time to cut the umbilical cord.
Fair enough.
Time to Time to change our diapers. Time to pee in the potty. So, oh yeah, you got some. Who is that?
Lois Goodwin, that's Sewell Goodwin's wife after he passed away.
Sorry, Benny, but now the show begins.
Hey,
There you
hey, hey, here you go.
For the record, I'll gross Benny out while he's eating cookies, but you can't see my tendon anymore.
Starting to
Oh,
heal
hell.
up.
Yeah, I
Did
don't
they
know if that's...
graft
Healing
that,
up
Cody, or
good.
did they just letting it heal up?
No, it closed on its own, believe it or not. But
Is that a good
Good
thing?
deal.
um, yeah, yeah.
Tell him, Cody, tell him the story.
You didn't have enough ass, did you?
No. Tell him the story, Cody.
So I have a disorder called Raynaud's syndrome, and because of it, my entire life you can't draw blood from me. You can't hit my veins. My veins are very deep, and you need an ultrasound machine to find them. And it's like you tell these people that you need an ultrasound machine to hit my vein, and they accept it as a challenge.
They just
So
dig in.
they 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 stuck me a total of 34 times, and they finally got one. They flushed it and said, "All right, we're ready to go." Went on the operating table, 3, 2, 1, and I go to sleep, and everything's good. And I don't know how long it was. It wasn't very long, but it didn't take long, and I woke up. I woke up on the operating table, and that IV that they had stuck in me had blown out. So they injected all of that crap under my skin. I had a big old bubble under my
Oh,
skin.
gee.
And,
Oh
but
man.
to make it even worse, I wake up and no one knows that I'm awake. And there's
I'm,
this
I'm
heavy,
sorry for laughing, Cody.
you done heard the story,
Oh,
but,
yeah.
but there's this Hispanic kind of a homosexual acting heavy set mid 20s, maybe 30-year-old, gay guy. Um, and he grabbed a flesher, which is the thing that takes the skin off your leg for the sample. And he said, and he reached over and he went to go do it. And he looked at that flesher. And I don't know how this happens or what, but he looked at it and he goes, "Man, this flesher has mold on it. Hand me that other one." And so this lady hands him this other one, and he goes, "This one's got mold on it too." He said, Go get a new one from the lab or whatever." And she left. And he turns around, and I'm jacked up way in the air, and he's sitting on my operating table just like this, just waiting. And I looked up at him and I said, "Mister, don't use a moldy flesher on my leg." And when I opened my mouth, boy, that little gay boy just about jumped through that ceiling. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. He didn't know what to do. They realize there is a problem. The surgeon then comes in who hadn't got in there yet. And then he's pissed off at the anesthesiologist. And they're arguing back and forth. And finally that surgeon came over and said, "Mr. King, don't worry. Sorry this happened. We're gonna fix it." And he told that he called that anesthesiologist and a woman, he called her an incompetent moron
Oof.
while they were arguing back and forth. And I finally looked up at that surgeon. I said, "Buddy, I'm going home." And he said, "No, don't worry about it, Mr. King. It'll be okay." I said, "Mister, you just called that lady right there an incompetent moron." And he started to say, "Man, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. I didn't mean to be disrespectful to the lady." I said, "No, fuck that. I believe you. And I'm getting out of here because she's an incompetent moron." And it was a pretty bad deal, man. So, anyways, we get done. The anesthesiologist didn't want to get me out of there. And I kind of politely told her that she didn't have enough staff members to keep me on that operating table, no matter how many drugs she had to put in me. But I got done, went to my little room. I'm putting my human clothes back on, and the surgeon comes in, and he hasn't actually seen my arm in almost a month. So he unwraps it and he looks at it and he goes, "World works in mysterious ways." And I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "That thing's closed enough. You don't need a skin graft no more. You're good. Just leave it alone." And when I'm leaving for Africa in the middle of May to go run Caracal and Serval with hounds, and when I get back on June 6th, I'm going to have surgery, but they're just going to cut some of this scar tissue out and try to sew the skin back together. So
Wow.
everything works pretty good. That's as far as I can open my arm, and
Does it hurt when you're trying to
yeah,
extend it?
you see it. I've tried to push. You'll
Oh,
see it kind of turn purple there, and it just the scar tissue won't let it go.
you think
So
you could get that stretched? Like if
man, I've
you've
stretched it as
tried?
much. Yeah, I got
Yeah.
a 5 pound weight that I tie on my hand at night and let it hang over the bed, and but that scar tissue stuck to some of that tendon, and it just needs to be cleaned up a little bit.
Huh.
Yeah.
So
I'll be
Hey,
right back, fellas. I'm gonna mute myself and I'll be right back. Gotta grab my
you
kids.
can go all you can move all your fingers.
yeah, I can even open my hand all the way. For a long time, I could only get it about there, and now I got it. That therapy is good stuff, and I
It's
really
done right.
recommend for all of
Hmm.
the old timey, hard headed bastards out there like me that don't like doctors and all that stuff. And if you ever have something happen and you think I don't need therapy, I mean, therapy saved my hand. And so as much of a pain as it is, I implore everyone to just go through it and get it done.
You're a
So
tough old bird, Cody.
I don't know about that.
I
It's
couldn't.
easy to be tough when you don't have a choice.
I couldn't move my arm for 2 weeks after I seen the picture.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But I was tough enough to tree a lion Monday morning, so it's not slowing me down too much.
No. Can still hold that Garmin.
Yeah. But what are y'all up to? I'm actually going
What?
hunting in the morning. Alan Listdahl from Minnesota flew back down to take his mother-in-law home, and me and him are gonna make a round in the morning. So
Nice. What do you think that our April 11th decision, the Arizona Game and Fish, saying get your petition out of here, basically?
I haven't heard much about this. I was that's why I tuned in. To be honest with you, I wanted to hear what the latest news was.
Man, they did a phenomenal job. The Arizona Game and Fish, his name is Jim Hefflinger. He came in and he literally just tore them apart on their petition. I mean, he went accusation, allegation, whatever they tried to come at with, he came in. I actually have that screen recorded and I'm putting that together as well. And I think someone did record the video there. I was trying to upload a video right now where it was on, but it wouldn't load to my deal. But even Conserve and Protect Arizona made a little clip, to kind of be proactive for once. The thing is with us is we win, right? And then we run away. Like, oh, we win, and we all go home and party and whatever. And those the antis have already been putting out articles saying that it wasn't fair, and then we were rude for clapping, and uh, all kinds of stuff. All kinds of stuff. I'll send you a bunch of the stuff. So then I got with the reporter yesterday, and I took her out to run dogs, and she was like, "Man, this is amazing." First, when we got out there, and I said, "Well, I'm gonna let him out, let him clean out a little bit, and I'll probably road him about a mile or two." And I went to open that tailgate, and she said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm gonna let the dogs out, like right here in the road. We're out in the forest." I said, "Yeah." She goes, well, how are you going to keep them here? I said, oh, they'll stay here. So I let them out, and she was kind of scared. Like, she was kind of scared as far as I'm letting 6, 7 dogs out, and they're running around. So I let them out. They run around. You know how dogs are. They go crap, and they piss on top of each other's piss. And I'm just kind of explaining to her kind of how I do it. And I said, well, what we'll do is we'll road them down the road. She goes, like, just free? I said, well, yeah, just free. Well, how are you going to get them back? I said, oh, I just do this. Whoop! And they all come to me, and I said, get in the truck. And they all loaded up. She goes, it's like, that's it? I said, that's it. So I let them back out. I said, let's go, guys. And they all came back out, and we roaded them. And then we went and ran and got a little tree. And then we was at a tree. And she goes, well, they're not even aggressive. They're just treeing. And I said, yeah, that's what they do. I didn't have my GPS. I kind of left it in the truck. And I said, but let's go. She goes, you're just going to pull them off this tree with that in the tree. And I said, yeah. I said, let's go, guys. Leave it. You know, we did. They all, you know, I had a young one that kept trying to go back. And I said, hello.
What was in the tree, Chris?
Not a big kitty cat, but a little kitty cat. Bobcat.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So got lucky. We got so lucky. It wasn't a super long run. I said, she goes, well, it's kind of easy. I said, let me put you with Jared or some of these other guys. I said, if you want to go hunt, I'll take you on a hunt. I said, and I guarantee you, you'll write a different story. But she went from thinking that they were dangerous, out of control, running. And I never even used my GPS. I said, and the one was right there. I said, listen, I had Stinker. I said, listen, beep, beep, beep. I said, now I can shock them if I want, but most houndsmen, most of these times, most of these guys, they just have to tone a dog and they'll come back. Like they're already trained up. But she was amazed of how easily I could handle my dogs, the manners.
Yeah.
She says, I got world champion Labradors. And they jump on you. They do stupid stuff. And none of my dogs, I don't like my dogs jumping on people. I got little kids that feed, or little people come over. So they come over and I don't want my dogs jumping on them. And when they feed, they don't come to the bowl. Like they don't come to my bowl, because my kids feed. So they dump it and then they're only allowed to come to the bowl when they leave, and they just have, and my dogs aren't even great. I know people, I've hunted with people, Liz's dogs are phenomenal. She can throw out 9 bowls and feed them right next to each other. I don't think I could do that. Mine like to eat and I've never done that. But she was.
You mean? Well, I don't understand what you mean. Feed them next, like just feed them all together.
No. She'll throw out 9 bowls, put food in each one of them, and those dogs will just go to a bowl and eat.
Yeah.
I've seen it. I'm like, God dang, But she loves her dogs. It's 100.
Well, I mean,
like when we're out in the woods.
I guess I don't understand what.
Without a chain, we're just out running dogs. We're out hunting, and
Yeah.
it's late in the evening. She goes, "I'm gonna feed my dogs real quick." She'll put bowls 1 or 2 foot apart from each other with food in them, and those dogs will just go to a bowl and eat. They won't try to eat the other.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, phenomenal. Mine, I don't know if mine would do that, but
yeah,
it is what
I
it
doubt
is.
it.
Yeah. They try to eat theirs real quick and go to the next one. That's probably what would happen. So,
Yeah.
but she was amazed by it, and she was like, "Man, this is just crazy. This is just crazy." So we did a little, we got to a spot after we treed, and I said, "Well, let's go see if we can find this line, because there's a line that's running in a golf course. I keep getting pictures of it from people, not my cameras, but from door ring cameras in the golf course." And so we went over that way and see if we could pick up a track coming out of there. But she went from very doubtable, like a big maybe, to a point where she's like, I think it should be illegal to have dogs in the woods without a collar. without a GPS collar.
Yeah. They're all, yeah, and that's what gets me. The bunny huggers are all bitching about the GPS collars. And it's like, what are you talking about? That's the best technology in the world.
Oh, I don't
That's
I don't have it with me.
It's
I
just
had
ignorance. That's what it is.
yeah, I had printed out that article that Wildlife for All had printed out. Here, take a small bag of food. Tim, I don't want to train my dogs to eat together. I put them right on that little trot line, tie them up and feed them.
Yep.
So,
Me too.
As
But-
far as, yeah, and I was kind of curious what you were talking about there. I didn't mean, because like my dogs, they eat together. Like when I'm out hunting,
oh yeah,
and I come in from hunting, like there'll be a concrete porch or something, and I'll just
Oh,
dump
yeah.
off food on the concrete porch.
no, I've done that when we're out,
Yeah,
and I'm like, I'm not gonna separate. I don't have no bowls. That's what I
Yeah,
do. Kind of dump
exactly.
me a
Yeah.
line, and then just kind of keep an eye on them. You know what I mean?
I'm a psycho. I measure it every time and wear a certain
Yeah.
amount for each animal. You know, I carry them bowls with me because I'm too particular about it.
No, I like with me, and one day I'm probably gonna get harassed for it, but I have a 5-gallon bucket I carry in my truck when I'm running around, and it's usually full of grease. So I got like my oil and stuff mixed with my dog food because we're like running. So I'll try to dump some bear grease or something in there, whatever I got. Cooking stuff like bacon grease, just that extra fat content for when I'm really running hard. But I also carry bags of meat. So if they really wanted to, they probably harass me thinking I'm baiting. But I like to keep my dogs as fat as I can. Probably find it fair fun.
Well, that's cool that you caught a bobcat when you had that lady with you.
Oh, she
That is
didn't.
cool.
So she has my dog's treeing, and she didn't want to like post a picture of it because you know how the antis. Because she's calling them too. She's talking to like Russ McSpadden or trying to get hold of him and getting both sides. And I said absolutely get both sides. But another article had came out from the Arizona Republic, and I had texted my original guy who I did an interview with. I said, hey, did you cover, are you going to cover this? And he said, oh, this other guy covered it. And he sent me the article. The only thing that made me mad about the article is he got a quote from Russ McSpadden and not us.
Yeah.
You know what I
That's
mean?
what they
And
do
he had
90% of the time.
Yeah, and he had the contacts. Like Leo, I told Leo, hey, it's a good article. It was fair. Just kind of said what was up. Like that reporter that I took out yesterday, she took me out first, and then I said, well, you want to get hold of those guys. There's Russ McSpadden. Here's the article. I had the article with me, and we went over it a little bit when we was out there. So she's gonna do a big thing, and she's real big on X. Like she does stuff on X. So she's been posting little stuff. I was trying to load it on this, but it wouldn't load. But I mean, to get back to the April 11th thing, how many people do you think was there, Derek? I want to say 80.
Man, there's 200 seats in there, and there wasn't 10 empty ones.
No, there was people standing up.
Yeah, like we had 200 people in there for sure, and that the bunny huggers didn't have but 7 or 8 total.
Yep. Thank you, Brett. And they had 10 at the most. And so what happened is they let them go first. I'll just break it down real quick. And Russ McSpadden got up there, and I'm not going to talk crap about the dude. I did have someone text me and say he looked like a booger eater. So but I said he got up there, and for someone who put forth a petition, and I'm not a good speaker. I'm not going to down anybody because I'm barely getting to where I'll walk up there and say something without having it written down and sound like a robot. I'm trying. He got up there and he was supposed to kind of present his petition, and he didn't. I mean, I was not impressed with it. If I don't know if he's doing it. I don't know if he's a paid employee of Center for Biological Diversity, but I can tell you that if I paid someone to do that, I'd probably fire someone right after that because
it was tired and it lacked the emotion that they have to have. The only thing they got is their feelings, and it didn't have any of that. It was It sounded like he'd said it 1,000 times and it was tired and played out and he knew it.
I'll be
It
honest.
sounded like he knew they were losing.
It sounded like he was scared almost, and I
Yeah.
get it. Like most of your people that are doing this, houndsmen I would have to say houndsmen are probably the roughest of the hunters. Like,
yeah.
I mean, we're out there, and I just explained this I talked to that reporter today, and she was trying to get hold of Russ. I said, man, you just have to call down there he Center for Biological Diversity, I guess. But I said, listen, when it comes to a houndsman, when you got a regular hunter, what do you really need to do? You need to buy your gear and you need to go out and start learning country. Now, a hound hunter, you have to do that, but also learn your dogs, train your dogs, take care of your dogs every day. What does an elk hunter, spot and stalk elk, bear, deer, or lion hunter? And I'm not knocking hunters. I respect them all. Everybody, if you're out hunting, I love the shit out of you. But what do they have to do? Train themselves. Most of them get on a treadmill a month before their hunt. They get out there, start hiking. We have to do it all year long. We don't just put our dogs in a closet, hang them up like a pack or a gun, and pull them out a week before and clean them and make sure all your gear's together. So in my opinion, and it's just my opinion, anybody who gets their panties in a wad, is we're constantly all year training. If you don't get my dogs, I just took them out and they were huffing and puffing because I haven't been out for 2 months. I've been literally busy. Oh man, I don't want to complain, knock on wood. My PI business today, I was supposed to stay in here in my office, got a call, had to go follow people. So my dogs are out of shape. And houndsmen have to constantly keep your dogs in shape and tuned and watch them and gear and feed them. I mean, my dog food's about $400 or $500 a month, So when you're an elk hunter or just a spot and stalk deer or bear or lion hunter, what do you have to do all year? Go maybe go scout the area. You know what I mean? So that's why I feel like we're probably one of the most engaged forms of outdoors sportsmen there is, because we have to do it all year long.
Yeah. And I will say there's some rock hard elk hunters out there, but it's like you say, we're doing it all the time. And then I think it takes a certain kind of fella to do this on purpose. You know what I mean?
Someone crazy, stupid,
yeah,
don't know what they're doing. Nothing else to do in life.
Yeah, no matter how hard or how tough the elk hunter is, there comes a time when he can decide, I don't want the lion goes, the bear goes, the cat goes. We got to follow the dogs, and we don't get to say, well, that's too rough. They go all the way there anyways. And that makes, we got to be a little bit crazy, I think. And I think you're right. We're probably the roughest bunch. We're just a little bit backwards probably in general and not as clean cut as some of those fellas.
A houndsman's probably going to get in a fist fight and whoop your ass before a turkey hunter is.
I was going there. If you're in a bar,
you were going with that.
If you're in a bar drinking, and you got 2 houndsmen, 2 deer hunters, 2 elk hunters, 2 turkey hunters, and a couple fishermen.
Yeah,
I'd imagine that the hound hunter and the elk hunter would get in a fight and then it would like go. If I was to level it up, the deer hunter, I don't know, them coos guys. They go, those guys go too, and then it kind of goes down to where
most of their animals don't even have horns for a third of the year. So.
Yep.
And they get or antlers. They would correct me right there and say they don't have horns. They're antlers.
Antlers. And what do they? And honestly, they only. I don't know why people. If you're really into that outdoors, like if you're just hunting elk, if you're just a big elk or even a bighorn sheep hunter, those guys, they don't get drawn every year.
And that's the difference between where I live and where you live, in the public land versus private land.
Mm-hmm.
All of the deer hunters on private land have a relationship with us houndsmen. They allow us access to run and they love us. And now granted, a lot of these ranches down here that I hunt have high fences on them. You know, one time me and the owner were deer hunting on this ranch and it was high fence and we were cat hunting. And we pulled up and one of the deer hunters was driving by and the deer hunter started complaining and said, "Hey, these dogs are going to scare my deer." And the landowner looked at him and said, "There's an 8-foot fence all the way around this property. Where the hell you think they're going to go?" But it versus in public land, a lot of those deer hunters and elk hunters, they're competing with houndsmen. They don't know it. They're really not. But there's more animosity there than there is here in Texas. You know,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
the average hunter is a lot friendlier to houndsmen here in Texas than they are in public land states.
Yeah.
Hey,
And go
I was
ahead,
just gonna
Benny.
say, uh, Brett mentioned something about you guys going hunting. Where you guys gonna go hunting? He's gonna film it. Cody.
You talking to me?
Yeah, Cody.
Brett
He
said
put over
something?
there in the he put over there in the comments. Where is it?
Looking.
Tell them about our hunt coming up, Cody. I'm gonna film
Oh, you have to watch Brett sometimes because sometimes stuff is up and getting filmed, and then sometimes stuff is a little top secret. So I had to
it.
wait to kind
Well,
of see what.
well,
But so for the
he just
record,
spilled it right here.
Brett spilled the beans.
Yeah.
Yeah, me and Brett have a trip planned at the end of this month, and we're gonna go up. I'm gonna go up to New Mexico and
Yeah.
we're gonna go make a hunt with a buddy of ours, and in fact, Benny, you
Oh,
know him,
you're going over there to Joel's.
yes,
Oh,
and
that'll be good. And I'm
so
not kidding. Be ready. That lion that got on you, you ain't got nothing on those lions in that country.
you know it's funny you say that because I talked to someone up there the other day and with Joel, and he had caught a lion that morning, and he said, "God dang, this lion bit every dog I had." And
Mm.
my first comment was, "Man, Benny was right." So,
Yep.
Yeah, they'll
but
get
yeah,
on you.
we're me and Brett are gonna go make around for a few days and see if we can find a long tail in what is that? Eastern New Mexico, Eastern Central New
Northeast.
Mexico, Northeastern New
North.
Mexico.
I don't know if you'll
So
go right there around Tucumcari or if you go up to Logan or Mosquero. It doesn't matter. All the lions in that country are mean sons of bitches.
yeah, we're gonna go hunt. I'm sure we'll be hunting some private land that he has access to.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, we'll
I'll be
see.
excited. Be excited to see that you get them speed dogs up in there catching them suckers.
Yeah,
You guys need to watch that.
see what these South Texas dogs can do up there. It if we can find a pretty fresh trail, they ought to do good. But I've seen some pictures and videos from some of that country, and it's not mountain country; it's canyon country, and
Uh,
you get these old flatlander dogs out in that stuff, and they may not be able to get around too good. You know, dogs got to
there's a lot of
dog has dog has to learn how to get around that stuff, and so, but we'll see what they do. All they can
there's
do is embarrass
a
me.
lot of ledges, a lot of rim rock and ledges and holes and cracks and it's pretty wild country.
Yeah.
Have you
Yeah,
hunted that? Have you hunted anything like that before, Cody? Like the bigger canyons and rocky?
I mean, I have, yes, and honestly, uh, one of those jaguars I caught earlier this year. And some pretty rank, deep kind of stuff, but the canyons, that those steep drop off canyon kind of stuff is what I'm worried about. And I hunt around a little bit of it down on the river here, but it's you know it's 15-foot canyons. But so that's how I know dogs have trouble, because uh, I mean, I've lost lions just because there was a 15-foot canyon that my dogs couldn't get up. So I know they're going to have trouble on a 300-foot one.
Probably just catch bobcats. Who cares? As long as you're catching something, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And when you let those dogs go, I need you to hit that stopwatch. That way, Mr. Derek over there can try to brag about it. He
Yeah,
likes them fast dogs.
get the wheels going, boys.
You don't typically run lions, do you? Like, you don't go after lions. You just end up catching lions down in your
Yeah,
country, right?
correct. I catch 100 bobcats a year, and I probably catch 6 lions a year, um, on average. Maybe a little more. I've caught 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 this year so far. So I'm having a pretty good year.
And that's with one arm.
Yeah. But someone asked about how long the races are, and so I'm going to
That's
get
some.
into this a little bit. But
Wait, Cody, you gotta slow down real slow and talk, because this is Robert and he's a snow hunter, so you have to talk real slow.
And
oh,
he's from
okay, Robert.
he, he's from a high elevation where there's a lack of oxygen too.
Ten
Yeah.
thousand feet.
So I grew up, or not grew up, but I learned hound hunting, bobcat hunting in South Texas, mostly with bobcat hunters that had only caught somewhere between 1 and 5 lions in their entire life. And if you go ask a South Texas bobcat hunter, he's going to tell you, oh, them lions don't run. Compared to a bobcat, they don't run. They just run a couple minutes and they just go right up a tree. And a lot of the lions that I catch, like off of a kill, that's very true. You turn your dogs loose, they bark 4 or 5 times, they get to trailing it out, they get him jumped, and he runs a couple hundred yards and goes up a tree. Got a big old belly full of meat, and most of the South Texas bobcat dogs that haven't been on many lions, they won't really cold trail lions much because they catch so many bobcats, but they'll run a hot one. And so, but that's what I was told by all these people over all these years, and it's kind of true. But as I started hunting lions, 5 or 6 years ago, consistently trying to hunt, trying where I live, there's tons of bobcats, but no lions. I can drive 3 hours west and there's tons of bobcats and a few lions. So I'll go hunting in lion country, but I'm still bobcat hunting. So I don't care as long as we get something in a tree. But I will say I caught a 128-pound tom uh, maybe 2 years ago. And people can say whatever they want. Everybody's got their opinions and there's theories, and people will say this didn't happen or whatever. I don't care. I'm going to say it. But I jumped that tom in heavy brush, pretty desert dry conditions, and them dogs ran him. They didn't trail him. They didn't fast trail him. They
Like a bobcat.
ran him. No, a lion. 129,
Oh,
128-pound tom lion. They ran him for 1 hour. And
jeez.
I mean, I saw him, and this isn't a boo-hoo and stand on your head. I mean, these are dogs that catch 100 bobcats a year, and that they ran him for an hour. We saw him cross the road at least 6 times during that hour. Dogs
Mm.
on his ass.
Huh.
And one thing that did slow it down is there was a big old. It had rained a bunch, and there was a lake that was overflowing, and every time he would hit that spot, that lion would swim, and it. But anyways, the majority of the lions that I run, once they're jumped, it's just a few minutes. But there's exceptions to every rule, including that one, because I ran a Tom Lion I was a running. Maybe he's the only one in the world that'll ever do it, but it happened. And but
You've
generally they don't run.
been behind jaguars.
Yeah.
Do they
That's a
run,
different animal.
or do they just? What do they do?
The the Tom Jaguar that I was exposed to, um, like bayed and then would walk like 40 or 50 yards, and then he would bay again.
Like a
And
big old bear.
Yeah. And then he would walk 40 or 50 yards, and then he would bay again. And then he'd, grab a dog and bite it. And then the dogs would kind of pressure him. And he never would tree, And
Well, it's kind of segueing into if let's just say we have a jaguar in Arizona, and you come across it, especially just in that low desert, kind of a little bit flatter, maybe. You think you'd run it? Do you think that jaguar would do the same thing? Just a big old Tom? Because that's all we've had here is Toms.
yeah.
You think jaguars even give a shit that those hounds are behind him? Like you said, he went 40, 50 yards, and it's like, get away, like flies,
Yeah. They this cat was, he would walk, but he wouldn't walk per se, but he would just like jump really fast and then stop and then take a few steps and stop and then he'd kind of trot off. Um, if I don't know what they would do over there. Where this happened, every about 8 step was a tree 75 foot tall. So he obviously had no desire to just go up a tree, or he could have very easily. Over there, I don't know. I don't know what they would do in your country, but I would imagine they would be bayed. This is what I got to deal with every day, guys. Don't have a daughter that's a cheerleader.
I got 2 of them that are 7. They're about to be 7, and they do the same thing. They're not even cheerleaders.
Yeah,
singing and dancing. And it's only when you get on the phone. Right when you get on the phone, they get loud.
Yeah.
So, no, that was just one of the antis. They're a big deal right now. Their biggest complaint over there was jaguars and ocelots, and of course the Mexican wolf, which, and I did find today the police report. I got the police report for that big dog attack over in South Arizona, and it wasn't even in the public. I think someone had mentioned this before, but the reporter had asked me about it, and I said, "There's something about that story. You have to kind of figure it out yourself." But the guy had hounds, and it was in his yard. That big a bite where it bit somebody was like on his property, so it wasn't even out in the hills. They say that the hounds harass the public, and there's no reported incident out in public on forestry or state land or that hounds have attacked somebody.
Yeah.
But they drug up, they had brought that up, and I looked for it today and down in Cochise County, and I had found it. So I think that needs to go out to the public too, and then the jaguars are another big thing. They say we run them all out of there, but Jason Miller has gotten ocelots on his camera, and on that same camera have gotten hounds on that camera. And even after the hounds come through, that ocelot's still on that camera. So if you can't run an ocelot out of its country, what makes you think you're going to run a jaguar? But what they don't understand is, and this is what I've been trying to I called Cody trying to get some names, maybe just somebody who's just really into the jaguar business. Those jaguars are like these lions. They go 100 miles, 200 miles, and I think some of those jaguars that were here were reported going back down, breeding, coming back up. They just did their little circles. I think they go down, they do their little mate thing. They're tired of fighting. He knows where there's a spot where nobody bugs him. And that's where he comes. He comes through Arizona just like anything else. Any other cat does a big circle. So that's their big argument, is that jaguar, the endangered species. And I keep trying to explain to these reporters that you're not going to run a jaguar. You can't run a lion out of his country.
No.
You chase a lion and you don't kill it, it's going to go find out where scratches are. You'll be back through there scratching again.
I've tried to make lions leave and couldn't do it. Just harassing. That's one thing I always find funny. There's some show on the History Channel that my dad watches that has a hound and a lion guy on it every once in a while.
Yeah,
and
that's mountain men.
They're always talking, like, oh, we're gonna haze this lion out of here. And everyone that I've ever messed with and did that, and I've treated the same lion half a dozen times. It did not faze him at all. He never left. Nothing.
No.
And
the hazing project's a real deal, but it's all the hazing project is proven. And Derek, you probably retain more information I do with Bart, is that they just run a little bit quicker before you get there.
So what that study showed was that the distance with which they move away from human interaction increases as you run them. They're not going to leave the country. It's just they'll hear a person and they boogie you when you're a quarter mile away instead of when you're 20 foot away.
Yeah, because when it all started, right, it was like 30 yards. They could get up to 30 yards of them before
they got up
ran.
to 10 feet, and then they said that, well, that's as close as they want to try. They were on top of the dang thing, and it didn't care. And they were playing human voices talking on the radio, on the speaker. But then after a couple of recaptures, then it was boogieing at over a quarter of a mile, 500 yards.
Yeah.
And that was consistent across every one of the tested cats. And they collared over 160, something like that, over the course of that 4-year study.
Yep.
Is Brett still in here?
Probably.
I think so, yeah.
I don't know. It's 7:50 over it. He might be going night-night.
Yeah.
I treated a female, and 2 hours later, it was back on the same game camera it was on the night before.
Yeah.
We ran a lion. We trailed a lion. There he is. He's here. We ran a lion in Yucca, Arizona, came back around, and that lion had followed our tracks. His tracks were over our tracks, following us, follow him. I felt like it was that sheep test where the guy takes him around the fire and gets him running around the fire in a circle.
Brett, I'm here we go again with Brett's top secret stuff, but have you told all of your buddies here about your lion hunting adventure a week or so ago? Is that
He told
public
me
knowledge yet?
I don't think he's made it public knowledge yet.
Oh, well, he has now.
There you go. Oh, look what he says. Shh.
Yeah.
All right, I guess I'll.
Not yet. He's saving that for Monday.
Yeah, it'll be coming. That can be Brett's teaser for Monday.
Mm-hmm.
He'll probably wait a while, but
I think all houndsmen have that story they love to tell, and then all houndsmen have that story with the same remark. Shh.
Yeah.
And we'll just keep that at the campfire around that green Kool-Aid or that apple pie mason jar. I was on Raw Dog last night with Chris Powell. I kept him on for an hour and a half.
You was on what?
He calls it Raw Dog. Him and Ed
That
Barnes.
They're like porn site or something, man.
It's Chris Powell and Ed Barnes. You never know with those guys. You never know. I took a penicillin pill before I even got on the show, just in case. We talked about it a little bit, but
what is that? Is that a podcast?
Yeah, it's kind of like this. It's a Facebook Live on Tuesdays.
Oh yeah.
Yep. So
And
sex
Chris,
show.
Chris,
Brett said,
Chris, that's what I said, Brett. He said I was on Raw Dog last night. I was like, God dang, I gotta go, guys. We'll see
Yeah.
y'all next
Yeah.
week.
Real time.
But so Chris Powell is the Houndsman XP guy,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
but the Raw Dog is just a live
Him
that
and
he does.
him and Ed Barnes. Ed Barnes has Tusker's magazine. He's a hog hunter. He's one of them good old boys like us.
Hey, has anybody talked to Jason Doobie lately
I have.
about the quick track?
Thank you.
Oh yeah. No, we don't talk about that yet.
Oh,
Cody, hey, just because you're on the inside doesn't mean you just got to
listen
throw
here,
it out
guys.
there.
All
Good
of y'all
grief, man.
listening, you all need to quit telling me stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I should have sent him with a link, like
Yeah.
like those stars that come in and say, "I want all the green M and M's." I need to send him a link with everything that he can't talk about.
Everything's top secret. Yeah.
You need one of those flashy pins.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It-
No, there's a whole network thing going to go on that's going to be really good, I think. So everybody just has to wait. You just have to wait a little bit for that one.
yeah. Well, that'll
Yep.
be good. But
That's what I was
with that,
waiting for.
Look, Benny. I
Coffee and cookies.
I don't know about all that.
know that's just mean.
Yeah.
So,
Actually, you do
anyways,
first.
Well, they call
oh
that
man,
cruel and unusual punishment, something like
yep,
that.
yep.
Yeah. I ate
You
all of
need to
mine
send
in
some to
So,
about
Madison. You
4
need to send
hours.
some
So.
to Brett too.
Hey, Cody, what country are you going to Africa?
What country am I going? What?
In Africa.
This trip I'm going to South Africa,
Okay.
and on a a very very inexpensive hunt actually, um, and because I mean I'm just going hound hunting with some hound guys, you know. The flight cost substantially more than the hunt did, unfortunately, but yeah, gonna go over there and just hunt with a couple of different packs for a couple days apiece
Yeah.
and watch them run. So they run jackal too, which is kind of like an African coyote, and then they
Yeah.
hunt caracal and serval. And I just want to go see the dogs. One thing that's cool is Scott Allen from England, who's going with me, so we can
Oh,
go
that's
take some
good.
pictures for his
yeah,
book. Yeah. Uh, Coming back, I'm going to spend the night in London, and he's trying to arrange for me to go to one of the mounted fox hunters, English play dress up day, just to go
You should do
see,
it.
you know.
No, you ain't gonna ride.
Yeah, no, you ain't got to worry about that.
you could borrow Derek's little tight pants.
Yeah,
Hey, it's good time. It's worth doing. Make you a better
They're
horseman.
they're hard. They're hard on those fox hunters over there, aren't they? Holy moly,
Yeah.
those
yes,
antis, they're
yes,
hard
yeah.
on them.
But
Really
And
hard
we
on 'em.
every once in a while, you get to see a houndsman run over one of them antis with a horse, and it kind of makes it all worth it.
All worth the while. It's almost
Yeah,
like you kind of find out where they're protesting and to make sure that fox runs right that
Brett,
way.
I have enough points
Brett has
to
enough
get
points.
you an airline ticket. So be careful what you wish for because that could be done very easily at no cost.
You fly Delta, Cody? Do you
I
fly
haven't.
Delta?
Don't erase Tim B's comment.
All
I
right.
need to see that. Um, so the first two times I went to Africa, I flew, I believe, American Airlines. I think uh, to Newark, and then something to Africa. I don't remember, but this time I think I'm flying maybe Delta to England, and then I'm going to be on British Airways or something. I don't really know. There's a really cool company here in Texas that if anybody ever wants to go to Africa, I wish I could remember their name, and I can't look it up or I'll lose this. If anybody ever wants to go to Africa, reach out to Brett or Chris and let me know. But there's a girl named Hannah that works for this particular place in Texas, and all they do is logistics for hunters that go to Africa. And they'll book all the flights, they'll book all the hotels, everything. And one thing that is for about what's included, they charge you like $200 fee, something like that, to do all this. It's next to nothing. But what's included in that fee is when you land in Africa, a gentleman walks up to the plane that you're getting off of, holding up a sign with your name on it, and says, "Follow me," and then takes you through all the customs and all, and that's worth it. The extra, the $200 you spend to pay them to book all your stuff, it's worth every penny. They get you around the lines, and it's the
And
only.
especially a first timer.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Chris,
Especially.
reach out and tell him I want that information.
You know,
I will get it to you.
you know what we need to do is one of these trips is raffle off a trip to go back there or something. That'd be kind of
Yeah,
cool. You just have to
yeah.
have your passport.
Well, Brett just said he's got his,
He
so
did. I seen that. Look, just book it. You should just book it right now. Grab your wife's phone and just book it and
yeah,
make him go.
yeah.
Force his hand.
Mm-hmm.
It's been gone for probably 10 days, so it's a short trip for an Africa trip, but
Well,
it
but what everybody doesn't know, Cody, is like you're going up through London, and so that loop, we went through London the first time I went over there, and our travel was 56 hours with some layovers, some red eyes, and all of that. And so then from that point on, the next three times I flew Delta direct flight from uh, Atlanta, Georgia to Johannesburg.
yeah,
And that flight is a killer. It's 20 hours.
yeah.
One airplane for 20 stinking hours.
That's the way that I've always been. Is I've been on one airplane. It's from New York. It's not from Atlanta, and it's 17 hours.
Yeah.
It
But that's how you rack up all those points so you can take Brett.
Yes, that's exactly right. Well, I, uh, when I came back after, so the first time I went, I bought the cheapest airline ticket that you could buy. It was $1,800 or something like that. And then I sat on that plane for 20 hours, being 6'4". And when I landed, I called a gentleman that works with me and said, "You change my flight back to first class. I don't care what it costs."
Yeah.
And so then, knowing that I was coming back again, and I had a couple years worth of trips booked with Africa, I said, "Man, I buy all this stuff for my business. I need to get a credit card or something that has airline points to help." Because my first class flight's like it's 8 grand just for the flight. It's stupid. But I was so miserable for those 20 hours. It's either pay an additional 6 grand or I'm not going, you know. So it was so miserable that a first class ticket just became part of the trip. And it was just terrible. I mean, it was like sitting on a bar stool for 20 hours, you know. Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
Brett. 20 hours that close to
No,
people.
yeah, because I, I, I was late. I was in my seat, and this plane's forever wide. There's people stacked in there like sardines in a can. Brett would absolutely just sweat the whole time. But
Yeah.
all of a sudden, this girl who hadn't even told me her name, she's asleep on my dang arm. It's like,
Yeah.
well, isn't this special? So somebody on the
Yeah.
plane, my wife wasn't there that time. Somebody on the plane is surely going to get a picture of this crap, and then
Can we
I'm going to be in divorce court
Yeah. Can we go back to that comment that I asked you to hold?
up on
I had
top.
the chance to
Yeah,
work
that
for a guy. Or is that Brownsville? Is there an S missing out of the middle of there?
Probably. He's
it
from
has to be.
Idaho. He's a snow hunter too. Got to talk
Because
slow for that guy
Brownsville's
too.
down here where I live. That's in the southern tip of Texas.
Yeah.
But Brownville may be. I had a chance to work for a guy out of Brownsville, Texas, in South Africa, and he said he would pay for all the hunting I wanted to do. I'd be a hunting fool if that was the case,
I
Tim.
guarantee you.
Dang
Yeah,
right.
Hey, and
yeah,
I still wouldn't be back. I'd still be over.
yeah,
Tim, I've got a rifle I'll loan you too.
yeah.
And a
Yeah.
spear.
Well, the
Uh,
the other part of this. So I have one more trip to Africa, um, and then I will probably never go to Africa again in my life.
Can
And
we timestamp this right now that he's
yeah,
saying he's not going back?
I may have said that last year, but
Yeah, I think you might have.
it. But I have acquired the ability to. It's taken a lot, and it's taken some special locations for me to be able to afford it even. But we do have a September of 2026 African lion hunt with hounds booked. So,
man,
and
Woo!
that'll be something.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that and
But
then I'm done. And
people
then I'm
people
done.
don't realize they don't realize how big those African lions are. You can see
Oh yeah,
all the shows on TV you want, but until you're sitting in one of those safari wagons
yeah,
and he's looking up over the hood of that wagon, standing looking at your eyes, it's like, son of a gun. I
yeah,
mean, their foot's bigger than a barefoot.
yeah.
Isn't that
So
kind of like California now? When you go hiking in the parks in the city, lions just sitting there staring at you.
yeah, they.
Yeah,
But
but
that's
Cody,
we finally got that done, and it's so it's not exportable to the United States. That's the only way I could even afford it.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it is a wild. It's not a pen raised lion in South Africa. It's a wild lion in Mozambique, and but it is exportable to Mexico. And I hunt a lot in Mexico, and I know some people that might just be able to get a lion hide across that border for me one of these days. So
Oh, there's millions of them that come across that could get it across for you. That's all they got to
yeah,
do is drop you a pin.
yeah, it. But I may actually. A very good friend of mine on one of the giant ranches that I hunt down in Mexico has a multi-million-dollar lodge with this beautiful trophy room, and I've kind of made arrangements with him that I will have it shipped to you. You can pay to have it mounted yourself, but you can keep it. But at least then it'll be in a place where I will be able to see it, when I want
Yeah.
to. And because even just to mount one of those things, I guess you could rug it out or something, but I mean, I wouldn't have no room in my house
no,
if I put one of those things full body mounted
those,
in here.
yeah, they're huge.
Like a dang big
You
old
know, I,
Humvee
I,
or something.
I bought a rifle to go to Africa, and I had the money set aside, and then I got to thinking, that's a lot of damn money.
It is
That's a lot of damn money. And then what's it going to cost to do any form of taxidermy?
as much as
Any
the
form.
hunt. Yeah.
Oh, I know, and I got to thinking, I probably better not rob my wife and kids of all that money right now.
Yeah.
And so the rifle's sitting right over there locked up. So
Yeah.
What rifle did you get, Benny?
I went to an estate sale and they had a 378 Weatherby.
That's a good one.
Yep.
It's a it's a very fast, heavy caliber.
But a
Yeah.
friend of mine is going on a leopard hunt with Gavin at the same time that I'm doing my lion hunt. So
Okay.
and that helped me offset the cost for my lion hunt because I have a friend of mine who's already paying for us to be there. I've already
Yeah.
killed my leopard. I don't care to kill anymore, uh but yeah, it'll be fun. September 2026, one last adventure. And
I don't
then
think
I'll be able to tell everybody that that lion did this to my arm.
Yep.
I don't think we've ever talked about it before, Cody, but there's things about Africa that are extremely unique to Africa, like the smell. When
Yeah.
you get out in the bush, the smell, or when you're riding down the street in a bus or whatever it is, the smell of Africa is extremely unique to only Africa.
Yeah, everything. Africa
Every
is just such a
everything.
special place, man. And what's cool about it for someone like me going over there when I'm 40 is every bird, every animal, every plant, every smell is all something I've never seen before. And
Yeah.
I love it over there.
Just look at
And
this.
I've never been to like the high fence country where they have all the game animals and packed,
Yeah.
but where we're going next year, there will be a bunch of cool there'll be some zebras and giraffes and elephants and stuff like that, so it it'll be fun. But yes, Africa's very, very special place, and it's a shame that it's getting ruined the way that it is, but it is, and it ain't gonna
Politics.
change, so
It's all politics.
yeah.
Well, it's every country, every state, everywhere, every continent.
Yeah.
Just
But there's just so much, the absolute magnitude of the open space of South Africa, Mozambique, Swaziland,
Yeah.
or Eswatini now. Anything from South Africa south, it's just extremely unique. You know,
Yes.
big
you can go
country.
over to, yeah, you can go over to uh, Cape Town, and you can get over on the west side and all of that, and it's not the same. It's more people, and there's more money.
Yeah.
I guess what strikes me about where you and I have been, Cody, is the poverty, the level of poverty.
Yes. Yeah. And it's really awakening. The first after the very first time that I went to Africa, and my first thought, and not to sound degrading to anyone, but my first thought was there is not an American that really knows what poor is.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
absolutely right. No,
Yeah.
you can be
And that's
degrading
true.
because the first thing that I mean, we saw families trying to live in the landfill looking
Yeah.
for a rotten morsel,
Yeah.
and people that don't have anything don't throw anything away. And
Correct.
when I came back and people said, "So what struck you the hardest?" And I said, "The level of poverty." And I said, "And you guys won't know what I'm talking about,
If you
but
ain't seen it, you don't understand it.
you can't comprehend." And I said, "They have less than nothing, and we don't know what nothing is." You know?
With the exception of just the drug addict homeless person living on the side of the street,
Yep.
as far as condition wise goes, but even with
Even
them,
then,
there's
they
not
can
a
go to a
single
soup.
person. Yes, I mean they make
They can go to
money.
a soup kitchen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean they really. There's not a scenario in America that is true poverty,
Well, even the
and
guy on the street, right? He
yeah,
has food stamps. They don't have
Yeah.
welfare in those countries. They
Absolutely.
don't have
Well,
they don't have disability.
they don't have nothing.
no, there ain't none of
They
that
don't
stuff.
have nothing.
Yeah,
Nothing.
No, they don't have retirement. They don't have 401ks. They're stuck to digging in. They're literally digging
yeah.
in for a morsel.
I mean, these people where I've been both times, I mean, they live off the land in the brush where we were hunting. Those people, I mean, it would be like I took you there tomorrow with your family, dumped you out, and said, "Vaya con Dios."
Adios,
Whatever you
vato.
can make, whatever you make you a little mud house and make you a straw grass roof on it, and
And then here's the kicker. Pray and hope and do everything you can to keep the witch doctor from hiring somebody to kill you for your parts.
yeah.
That takes
It,
place every day. Every day.
Is it safe for white American to go to South Africa? South Africa's going to be a little crazy. I'm going to South Africa in May, so if I never see you again, no, it was not safe for a white American to go prancing around South Africa.
Well, it's not.
But
I don't
South
think it's
Africa
safe.
isn't safe for white South Africans.
Yeah, I don't
yeah.
think it's safe for white or black South African.
So the other thing is, There is not an American alive today that knows what racism is either. Not
Oh, that's
true
absolutely right.
racism. Let me
No,
tell you
that's
something.
absolutely right.
Those white people hate those black people just as much as those black people hate those white people in places. They're not all like that. But
Yeah.
I mean, that's one thing that really woke me up. I was like, dude, all these rioters and Black Lives Matters and all these guys, and there's always room for improvement. Don't get me wrong, and there's always bad actors, but they ain't got the slightest clue what racism is because I saw it over there.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it's spread with a machete.
yeah, correct. I mean, one of the guides that I hunted with was a white man that was attacked by 5 black guys, and they cut his head open with a machete.
Yep.
And
No
they weren't
joke.
trying to give him a haircut.
No, they were trying to kill him.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
these
I
guys,
mean,
so these guys that take you over there that you're going with, are they semi-protected, or they kind of know the people, or they have people that
yeah.
kind of keep?
Well,
Because I just
I mean, once
kind
you
of
get to where you're going, you're dealing with. Once you get outside of towns,
yeah.
I mean, you're dealing with people that are making $3 a day. If they're working on one of those private game ranches, they're getting paid about $3 a day. And if American goes over there for a 9-day hunt and gives him a $300 tip, I mean that's a third of his annual salary in one week. So once you get outside of towns and you get out in the bush, they like the American hunters, and it is safe. But uh, I think where you have to, Rick Cooley, I think you're exactly right. I think where you just really have to watch out is like in Johannesburg in certain parts of town, and when I went over there the first year, we got there at night, and I made the driver go find me a store so I could buy some candy and snacks and stuff. And we pulled up to a gas station, and then he stopped me and said, "Man, there's some guys here that we should probably just leave." And of course, I said, "We pedal to the metal, buddy. Let's get out of here."
If you
And
get so full of yourself that you don't trust the people that live there, you're
yeah,
gonna get yourself dead.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I have a friend that goes to South Africa a couple times a year, and he hires private security when he's there.
Yeah, we like the hotel we stayed at, or the lodge we stayed at in South Africa, just waiting for transport, was like a big neighborhood, but it had a big block wall all the way around it with razor wire and hired guards at the gates to let you in. I mean, it was a white person compound in the black part of town, to keep
Well,
everybody safe.
to put everything into perspective, if you have nothing or less than nothing, and you think that you can get something from that person over there, and
Yeah.
you're starving, or you know somebody that's starving in your clan, you're going to do whatever it takes.
Well, if you
And
have
that's
This is a
nothing, what do you have to lose?
I
Yeah.
mean, and really and truly, and this is something that I thought about last year a lot when we were over there on that leopard hunt. $20,000 to go on a leopard hunt it's way more than that now. But I mean, just imagine one of those native guys over there knowing that he's starving for $3 a day, and this asshole American spent $20,000 to come over here and shoot a freaking cat out of a tree. That's got to be. It would be very easy to be pissed off at someone if you lived in those circumstances and that
Sure.
grotesque display of overwealth was going
Sure.
on around you. And
The
and
last
that's
the
just the
last
truth.
time, let's see, it was the second time we went. My wife and I and our two sons went, and that trip cost $22,000, and we didn't hunt.
Yeah.
And $22,000 in that part of the world will set two or three people up in a business where they can each support 10 or 12 people beyond that.
Yeah.
And so you
Yeah.
put that into perspective. And we just, you know, And they say, well, how much did it cost you to come? And I just say, it cost a lot.
Yeah.
Because if you put the figure to it, you could develop enemies instantly.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we were over there and I thought the same thing. I was like, man, I hope one of these guys don't ask what this hunt costs because I ain't gonna tell them,
Yeah.
Just tell me
And
traded one of your childs for it or something.
Yeah,
I will say that people do have the misunderstanding that the PH is making 30 grand when you go over there, and they're not. They're
absolutely not.
paying.
No.
They're paying. They're making less than our guys here are making at the end of
Yeah,
the day.
yeah,
Yeah, the government's taking 90% of that or 80% of that.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
huge.
yeah.
It's
You
Well,
not
the
get
like
the
closest,
tag.
I was going to say, the closest village there, or doesn't even have to be a village because people live out in the bush in these little huts. And all of a sudden, brush just starts, the acacias just starts moving and people start showing up. They know. And like Cody, when you kill an animal, they know that they get the spoils, they get meat,
Yes, they get the
and they're
meat.
not used to getting, yeah. And so those people out in the bush,
They
they're
like it.
happy for the
Yes.
Americans to come over there and burn all that money because then they get protein that
Oh,
they haven't had for months.
when I shot that Cape Buffalo, yeah, when I shot that Cape Buffalo, I mean, like the representatives from the village came out and divided up the meat and took it. I mean, it was a big deal. It was a really big deal. I mean, they don't have power, they don't have refrigeration, they don't get fresh meat very often.
Mm-mm.
And
And they don't
no,
last long. They have that trimmed down in minutes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
They
It
know
was
how to use
funny.
those machetes for skinning, for quartering, and for cutting heads off.
Yep.
Yeah,
And they're sharp. They're sharp for a reason.
it
Man, those
yeah,
are good.
get
Those are good cookies, guys. Good cookies.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm telling you, I'm not a cookie guy. And she sent those
Gavin
over.
Ah,
They're great.
Gavin
I will.
needed a bunch of meat to feed the dogs. So he took some of that Cape Buffalo and hung it up on the fence to dry because, Gavin's over there for months at a time, not going to town. He's got to feed his dogs meat. And, even then, you have to think those guys watching you feed their meat to a dog, and
mm-hmm.
but that was a big deal. You wake up in the morning and about 10% of the meat would be gone. And then the next morning about another 10 pieces of the meat would be gone. And it's just a different world.
Yeah,
It's just a different world.
Starvation is a motivator.
I
Third
Yeah.
will
third
say
world's an understatement.
if
Yeah.
people are thinking about their first trip to Africa and they're worried about safety and that,
Yes.
Namibia is
Yeah.
probably your move. Namibia is probably the move. Not Mozambique, South Africa, Zimbabwe. You want to stay probably to the west. Namibia seems to be.
There's a lot of diseases over in the West.
Huh.
I would think that Mozambique is probably one of the safest places to be. Is
The
that accurate,
southern
Cody?
half of Mozambique. When we were
Yes.
flying over there, we actually were on
Right.
the person sitting next to me on the plane was the U.S. ambassador to Mozambique, and he he said, "Where are you going?" And we told him, and he was the next U.S. ambassador to Mozambique, and he said, "Let me look," and we showed him, and he looked at the map, and he went, you may not want to go much further north than that, but the northern half of Mozambique's freaking Muslim Taliban terrorists. I
Yeah.
mean,
And
it's
ISIS
they're also
hotspot.
on the move. Yeah. But
yeah,
then so you're right there just
or
on the
ISIS, yeah, whatever they are. I don't know what they are.
you're just north and east of Swaziland, East Swatini now. And
Yeah,
Swaziland is full of all kinds of evil.
yeah,
We were in a hotel, a nice hotel that had armed guards the whole entire time. And
yeah,
we didn't go walking down the street. We got on one of those little combi vans and went wherever we had to go. And we didn't get off just to get off.
yeah, yeah,
Sounds
But
like a whole lot of
I'm
trouble.
well, I guarantee you that if you're looking for adventure and experience something that you'll never experience anywhere else, Africa's the place.
yeah.
I'd like to go to Australia. I always wanted to go to Australia.
A lot safer that way.
Yeah.
I'd like to
Yeah.
go see that rabbit-proof fence that splits that continent in half.
Yeah, them Australians, I give them hell. The first year we went to Africa, a guy named Zach Pilatek from Australia. He's a Catahoula. Give me Ridge. I can't remember the name of his Instagram or whatever, but he's a somewhat popular hog hunter from Australia, and he's done a bunch of like fishing shows and things like that. And I sure liked giving him hell when he was over there, and he'd dish it right back. He was a good guy. And I can't remember the name of his Catahoulas, but he got a pretty good line of Catahoula dogs that he brought in from Louisiana and somewhere and bred them up himself. But yeah, I liked giving them guys hell. He was a really good guy.
Wouldn't it be a lot of fun to get Jeremy over there? Take that swamp donkey over there to Africa and cut him loose.
Yeah.
Big dude like that. Funny accent.
Well, guys, I hate to cut it short, but I got to roll. I got to wake up early in the morning. So,
Yeah, me
All
too.
right.
I gotta leave at about 2 or
Again.
3.
but
Thank you
y'all
coming
do
All
on.
right.
your thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
good to
bet.
see you, Cody.
Yeah, and then Chris, I did make a couple calls on what you asked me about yesterday on the
All right.
phone. So he's gonna look and see if he knows anybody over in that area of Mexico
Yep.
that could maybe at least give you somebody to talk to. So
That'd be nice. Real nice.
well, all right, guys, we'll catch
Appreciate
you
it.
later.
Thanks for coming on.
Benny, good to see you.
Be good, Cody.
See ya.
Benny, what do you think of that old did you watch that commission meeting?
No, I did not watch it. I just saw bits and pieces.
Yeah, I got someone recorded it. I just taught my wife how to do it on my computer. I should have set it up and showed her how and had it recorded. I wish I would have recorded it, but somebody has it recorded, so I gotta get hold of them. No, I don't. And they have the archives, but it's from 2022. They don't have none of the newer archives. I got to figure out where to get it. So it was interesting.
Yeah. It'd be good to have.
Like I said, Derek, he remembers more than I do. A couple of those guys. What did one say about us playing video games and how it was easy? He froze up on us. I put him to sleep.
Yeah,
Benny?
zombie. All this talk about those witch doctors, and wham, they got him.
They got him.
There we go.
There, he's back now.
Yeah. So they said that with the Gorman, the lions and bears and bobcats have virtually no chance of escape. It's just like playing a video game. We cannot lose. And it's too easy. We don't have to get out and do any. It takes no skill on our part whatsoever at all. And especially if you have the Garmin XL, apparently that's got a magic tree button on it somewhere that I'd like to find. But yeah, it was all foolishness, just completely full of conjecture with a little bit of emotion dusted over the top. And
A lot of bit of emotion.
they cited studies that completely disagree with every point they were trying to make. They're just betting nobody would read them, but the state biologists absolutely did. So they got debunked immediately. It was a joke. It was a complete joke fest, and they had no. They say that we lacked vigor. They lacked any substance whatsoever.
Well, they kept saying we misrepresented them, but it's not our job to represent them. They misrepresented themselves,
That's
and
right.
they really kind of ran to mom and said, "Hey, Bubba's calling me fat and ugly." You know what I mean? It's like, what? Like you wrote an article trashing a 10-year-old boy that said that he wrote his own speech. I had to fine tune it and take out some stuff because it was kind of mean to those guys. But he says one of his statements was they just want us to sit on the couch and rot, and they actually put that in an article. how we accused him of wanting to sit on a couch and rot. And I'm all, that's a 10-year-old boy coming up with that. Why is he coming up with that? You know what I mean? Like,
well, that says a lot
They,
about them, that the only person that they could come after very hard was a 10-year-old boy.
yeah, and it, they whine about us. They kind of said it was rude for us to clap after every, but our claps were 80 people, maybe 100. I'd love to know how many people were there. I'll
I
find
think
out.
we
But
had I think we had knocking 200 people in there, man. And we
yeah.
thundered. Our claps were thunderous, and they had 2 people up there. Sorry, you said 400 people were coming for you. I'm sorry none of your people showed up.
And they complained about going first, and the Game and Fish came behind them and
That's
honestly
how it
destroyed them.
works. That's how it works. When you present a petition, you present your petition, then the state makes a recommendation, then it's public comment. That's how it goes. That's the protocol.
Oh, they said it was unfair too. Let me see. Chris should be able to submit a request to your department to get the recorded footage of the meeting. They don't keep the recorded, only the audio, not the video. I don't know why they don't leave it on YouTube. I really don't, but
They should.
they should. But they also said that they didn't give us what they say they were unfair about the order, but Chairman Hernandez said, I'm going to take for and against, and I'm going to stagger them. The problem is we had 100 people there. They had 10.
And they ran out of people real fast. So it looked overwhelming. That's not fair. It's just that all of your anonymous commenters don't exist, so they didn't show up. That's y'all scrounged up every fella you could get, and half our guys didn't take the day off work. It's absurdity. Like they're just trying to appease to the uninformed that they were somehow
Unfairly
misrepresented or
treated.
somehow not treated fairly. Well, they said that the system
Rigged.
is rigged. Okay, like you want to talk about your public forum, you had it, but all 2 of you suckers showed up and talked out of your tail holes, and you wonder why you didn't win. The science don't support you. That's just a fact. They said that they came with science and we came with condescension and anger and what have you. But the only people that came in there that cited scientific studies from the last 15 years or sooner that supported anything that they had to say was us. They didn't cite a single source that supported anything they said. You can say that I got the science, but when you don't have no science, like your opinion on why a jaguar left
there
its
you go.
favorite place is not a scientific study.
There
The
you go,
problem,
Chris.
that's their
Sorry,
issue.
I'm sorry.
But go ahead.
I'm sorry, Derek. There's your
Oh,
article.
this is it is. So Mount Daily Star, I actually sent her this. She's watching. We're writing a story, a petition in hound hunting. Who eats mountain lion? That's another thing they had said. They like to say that we don't eat mountain lion.
They said that we're going out there killing everything we catch and cutting the heads off of it and leaving it lay. That's illegal, and nobody does it.
Mm-hmm.
If you do it, that's against the law, and I believe you ought to be prosecuted.
I did explain that to her. I said you cannot leave the meat in the field. It's your meat, and it is what it is. And then whether you take it home, I said, you know how many probably deer hunters or elk hunters give their meat away? If there's anybody in this state that kills a mountain lion and doesn't want the meat, call me. I will drive down and I will pick it up and I'll put it in a jar for 20 years and feed it to the rendezvous.
and you'll tell them after the fact what their taco was.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I explained that to her. And the great thing about Mountain Daily Star is they came in not knowing nothing, never been on a hound hunt, but was willing to go.
Is that your reporter there, Matt? Another concern is the jaguar. The thing about that is, and I kind of brought it up at the commission. meeting is that all of their opinions about the jaguar are just that. It's their opinion. We saw an animal that's extremely elusive one time, and then we didn't see it anymore. And that happened a couple times over 20 years. He left his favorite place. For A, you don't know where a jaguar's favorite place is. And if we had to use science to guess where his preferred habitat was, that'd be his home range. And that's where he has good habitat, food, and breeding females. He does not have any of those things in southern Arizona. I've been all over those mountains. It's kind of a rat hole. It's hard to make a living. Jaguars don't like it like that. They big large carnivores, cats specifically, go on walkabout. They'll go check out new country, just like an adolescent human will do or a young man. Go
Benny
out and
Benny
into the
does that
world
too.
and get out into some new country and check it out. They don't find nothing they like. They go back to where they know there are females and what have you. Kind of like what Chris was saying earlier. Then they get down here, they breed them up, get sick of fighting, go up here, take a rest in this country where nobody messes with them because they ain't scared of no little hounds. They ain't scared of no lions. They ain't scared of no coyotes. They can hang out in southern Arizona and not get bothered for a while till it comes time to go back and make some more babies. And they go back to their
Well,
preferred home range and get their breeding done. We went to that
but
mountain lion workshop and it cited cat after cat after cat after cat that goes on these 500, 200, 2,000 mile walkabouts and
Female,
end up back
1,000
in,
miles.
yeah, males and females. And they go on these big journeys and go back to where they is better because up here they didn't like it. So they go back to their home range. It's a normal thing that they do. We've never had a breeding of population of jaguars in Arizona. I don't think we're ever going to. The habitat don't support it real good. It's awful dry. It's just not a thing.
There
They're
is
talking
jag.
about things
well,
they
I'm
imagine.
gonna kick back on that one. Go ahead, Benny, and I'll explain it.
I was just going to say, you touched on the habitat. Jaguar, and have you're reaching out to those people that are jaguar specialists, Chris.
Yep.
But jaguars prefer wet country.
Yep.
That's just the
Yep.
way it is. And you can go anywhere you want in northern Mexico and southern Arizona, and you play hell finding wet country unless it's in somebody's swimming pool.
And there is desert jaguars, but they're not a
But
common
they're
thing.
not they're
And there's
not
not been a
common, and they're not
reported female over in this country, and there's a reason for
no.
that. If it was their habitat, we would
Yeah,
have females living up here somewhere.
yeah. That's exactly right.
I'd
So
like to
Also,
when
have a.
you read all
I'd
how
like
these
to
many?
have a.
stories, read all these stories from the guys that hunted jaguars. They went down into Mexico and they went into southern South America. They went all the way and they spent their time in the jungles.
Yep.
Tony Rivera lives down there way south in the jungles. Yes, there you go, Tim. That's right. So
That's where they
I'd
want
like.
to have their
you're
babies.
exactly right. As far
Yep.
as habitat, this isn't it.
I'd like to see a study done on the water consumption of a jaguar versus mountain lion because I suspect that they need more water, especially during lactating, than our lions do. And that's probably a massive reason why you don't see kittens being born anywhere outside of that subtropical jungle habitat. I bet there's something to that.
Also, how many hound hunters are running down south? Quite a bit. So why aren't we treating them? Why aren't we getting up on them? Why aren't we having more contact with them? And how many cameras are down there? You could tell. You go for one. You have the border cameras,
Yep.
right? You have those guys dragging those roads every 2-3 days. Why
Yep.
aren't we finding? I mean, if you see a jaguar, if you know what you're looking for and you see a jaguar print, it's a big print. It's a 6-inch print. It's big
It's square.
toes, and you know what
It's
I
6 inch
mean.
square.
pad. Yeah.
So all these cameras out there, and Jason has cameras out there, and he's only gotten one picture. Yeah, that guy was just coming
Well,
through, and he already gone.
let me tell you about the cameras. So the last time Brett and I were down there with John Clump and we were hunting, that's when we interviewed John for the Jaguar story. We hunted while we were there. And when I got out um, where my cell phone worked, it started ringing. And I got told that those people were getting calls every day. They knew exactly where we were. They knew exactly what we were up to, and and the feds were wanting to know who was it, what were we doing. They're over here, they're over there, they're everywhere. And I got told that just in that little area where we were in the Palin Seal Mountains, they had 20 cameras. We only saw one.
That's not
And
including the
that's
sensors.
no, that's cameras. They had
Mhm.
20 cameras and they knew exactly where we were every day, all day long. And that's just in that one little area. So you're exactly right. If there's something down there, they know it's down there.
That is a fact. Let me see. A jaguar trackpad and a lion trackpad are different enough you can tell the difference. It's kind of like a dog and a lion, right? When you're out looking for a lion track and you try to make a dog track a lion track, and you see a
Yeah.
lion track, you're like, that's a lion track. I'm stupid. That's a lion
A
track.
jaguar track is almost square. Where a lion track, the toes are rounded like this. A jaguar track, the heel pad is almost as wide as the toes, and the track looks just about square.
Yep.
I've heard that. Let me say that.
Yep. So I mean, it's just there's so much technology out there, and we got one picture from Jason's 100 cameras he has out. One picture,
Just get, they're just
and
not there. That's just the point of it. These people are trying to use fairy tales to stop us from doing something that's scientifically supported, and it don't work.
Wayne
And that's
reminded me
why
of something by saying coyotes and wolves. They're saying that we'll mistake coyotes.
think a
We'll
wolf is a
mistake
coyote.
our dogs will mistake the coyotes and kill wolf puppies. They're also saying that.
So
How
they've
many?
never been
There's not
around.
big coyote runners here, right? I mean, in Arizona, I'm sure there's some here, but how many coyote running dogs do you know of in Arizona? That stuff back in Kansas when they got those big flat fields and like.
In the Midwest, there's a few in Texas. And there's a couple in New Mexico, and I'm in a lot of those groups and pages. I don't know of a single guy running in this country.
Cody
But yeah,
sent me
and
some
I wouldn't,
pictures of a
and I wouldn't,
jaguar print.
yeah, and
It's
I wouldn't
ridiculous.
want, I wouldn't want to run coyotes in this country. I run them all over the Midwest, and that's a different thing. You in this country, it'd be a nightmare. You'd have to run sight dogs, and then you wouldn't get anything done. All these washes and stuff, that'll pile up a pack of staghounds right now. You just end up killing dogs.
Oh, shit. I'm gonna.
You know, the biggest thing is all of these people that are raising all the stink and trying to get it all shut down. None of them are outdoors people. None of them spend time out there, whether it's a foot or horseback or any way studying this. They're all from town, and they're all appealing to everybody from town because those people in town outnumber the people out in the woods.
Yep. And I brought that up in December meeting. I asked him how many hours you've spent out there, how many days, how many weeks, how many daylight to darks have you spent trailing these critters? How many days and hours do you spend out in the wild? And none of them have an answer for it. They're not. I bought a hunting license. That don't mean you're out there. I bought a deer tag and hunted 0 days of deer hunting last year. You know.
But thanks for supporting the
Yeah.
Pittman Robertson Act.
Mhm.
Look at this. Look at
Look
that
at
baby.
Oh wait, what do you
yeah.
got? Let me see. What do you got for? Oh, Cookie. I'm gonna block him out right now. Yeah, that looks like a four-toed bear track almost.
It's
You know,
huge.
it's
Yeah.
big and round.
Look,
Here's another.
look how square it is. Look how big that heel
You
is.
can't see that one very good because
Look at that. You notice the
Yeah.
toes don't go all the way beyond
well, they said they're
pad?
more like round instead of wait. Is it opposite?
The toes
Oval?
themselves.
Yeah. Let me see.
But
Let me see.
that pad right there, a tip off any houndsman. You're not going to see that and think a lion track. And then that sucker's probably 5-6 inches across the back.
I'm trying to. Let me try this. I'm gonna try this. I'm trying to make him a little bit bigger so you can see. Where did the other one go? There it is. And then I'll send them.
It
No, that
does
that
almost
it
looks like
almost.
a bear track if you don't know
Well,
what
that
a bear
second
track
one.
looks like.
That second one looks like a bear track too. Let me send these.
But if you put that next to a bear, it doesn't look the same.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, that's what I mean. It looks like a bear track if you never seen a bear track before. You know what I mean? You ain't gonna mix that for a lion track. No way, no how.
Maybe it was a jaguar track I seen down there in Globe. It was a big one like that.
Well,
Little
don't say that though. But the hippies will be out after us again. And the biggest track I ever cut, and it was so big how I talked about it on here. It wasn't nothing like that. That sucker's monsters.
I enlarged them. Let me see if I can get it loaded up. But it don't matter. And then they said they were kind of upset and said, "Oh, you guys are saying it's emotional. We're not emotional." And they are correct about that. What they are is they're not only emotional. It's money bound.
They're financial. Yeah.
It's financing. And when we turned them down, right now, what are they going to do? They're
It's
gonna
already started.
they're
That's
they're
something
gonna
I
make money off it.
that's
And
something I
because
want to stress to everybody watching. We won. Yeah. But we did it ain't over. That was the opening blow of what's going to be a war. This is the beginning. This is not the end. We have not succeeded. We've just bloodied their nose. They're going to
It's
come
all
money.
that
hard
Yeah.
at the legislature. They're going to come hard at the ballot, and they're going to raise so much money to do it. We gotta stay vigilant. We gotta keep after it. We need to control the narrative, keep them on the back foot, and push this until they give it up. You know what I mean?
Chris, I talked to Steve Smith this evening, and he mentioned you.
who? Steve Smith?
Yeah.
Did he?
Well, because you've been out there making waves and your pictures plastered all over, so it's obvious who's leading the charge and trying to make a difference in the fight.
Well, I'm hoping I tried to enlarge it. Why it didn't? It didn't work very good. Maybe I sent the wrong pictures. I enlarged it, but it didn't work. You can see I can't make it bigger on my side here. Dang it.
But
But
the
anyways,
track, a lion, you can see the three lobes. A, a jaguar, they're not as distinctive. They're there, but they're not as distinctive. And a lion's toes are wider than his pad, and they have a round arc around it. And the jaguar, it's just almost a square looking track.
yeah, this will be. Oh, he's sending me a good one. I'm trying here. Well, here's another thing too that we're doing that no one else has done is I'm going through. I have a little like 20-minute video I made and went through their little article from Wildlife, or for all
For all.
Wildlife for all, right?
Yep. Yep.
Let me see what. Let me send it here. And we're
I
being
think
proactive. Even Conserve and Protect Arizona threw out a. Did you see that? I reposted
Yep.
it. They did a
That
good
was
job
nice.
on it. You know, no one's done that before. No one's done it. And I wish I'm not taking no credit, all of it, but I wish like Conserve and Protect Arizona, the Arizonan Sportsmen for Wildlife Conservation, I wish they all would have done more social rallying. And maybe I just didn't see it, but I'm like part of all that. Like I called people, I text people, you know, I'm calling people out. There's people that were at the lake, houndsmen at the lake, and you were probably an hour away. You couldn't take one morning and come up. There's people at Country Thunder. You couldn't take one morning and come up. Like there's people doing stuff. I drove 4 hours and I drove 8 hours because I had to drive back home.
Well, it just goes to show you. And it's like I said on the video I posted that morning. If you ain't there, you should be. And I'm ashamed of you. You should be ashamed of yourself. Because I don't care what you had concert tickets or you was going to take the boat out. We're gonna lose this if we got better crap to do.
Oh yeah. Save as.
You know.
One save.
put Cody's comment up there.
Okay, hang on a second here. 2 save. I'm trying to get these loaded real quick, and I'll jump back over. Save as 3. Okay, let me go back. Comments. The end is going to be somewhere in the middle. If we don't fight at all, the middle is going to be a lot further away than if we fight like hell. Need to put them on the defense. And that's absolutely right. We need to be
Big time.
proactive. If you guys see me post something or share something, it's because it's probably valuable. And here's another thing. Who gives a shit about hunting groups? I said this on Raw Dog last night, right before I got herpes. Just kidding,
I've got to
guys.
go. I've got to go take a pill now.
Just kidding. They wore protection. Why
They're
you're
gonna let you on there again, Chris.
probably not. Why don't we put why are our wives putting it in the mom groups? Why aren't we putting it in the dad groups? Why aren't we putting it in the cooking groups? Why doesn't someone make some lion, put it in a cooking group? Facebook. Social media is one of the most powerful weapons now. There is no, you trappers, and this is good. I'm going to shit on them right now real quick. The people who say, where were you when they took trapping? I don't know where I was. You didn't know where you was. I didn't know where you was. I didn't have a cell phone. We didn't have computers. We didn't have www. And if you did, I had it in the 92, 3, and I had the computer. I had to log in ACOMP and then, dial up. Remember that sound? Yeah, play that sound for anybody for dial up, and they won't know what the hell it is. We didn't have the weapon we have today, and that's social media. And social media is just like a gun, right? Let me load these real quick. It's just like a gun. It will hurt you or it'll protect you, one or the other.
Depends on how you use it.
It absolutely man, I'm having a stroke. It absolutely depends on how you use it.
100%.
Jaguar track.
See
that looks like a bear track right there, does it not? That looks like the front pad of a bear. So
but
I'm gonna go catch that jaguar.
Look,
what he said was
you can see those 3 lobes, but just barely.
Yeah,
barely.
Yeah.
Let me see. And look at that one. That one's just a big track.
Yeah.
Cody sent a good one right here.
Boy, howdy.
See how round those toes are?
Big round track. Now I'm going to be looking for that. And who does? And I'll be honest with you. I want to catch a jaguar. That'd be so cool. I take pictures of it, GPS it, call Game and Fish, and say, "Hey, I got a jaguar here. Do you guys want to come collar it? Do you guys? I'll take pictures of it. Who do I send it to?" And this is where the Game and Fish, and I'm going to talk to the director and all these people. Is they need an app. They need an app because there is no better biologist than a houndsman. And if you're on a tree, and this is where everybody gets all weird, and I'm old school and I'm anti-government and we didn't land on the moon, all that crap. But if you had a picture of the lion and where it was, and you had an app to just take a picture, send it up, and that your app's gonna, just like a deer tag, it GPSs you when you send it, and you get service that sends it, whatever. That would be so much information.
Yep.
So much information. And I don't know why they don't do that. I mean, they do it for e-tags. And some people are like, well, I don't know where you are. I don't give a shit. They know where I am. If I wanted to be a bad guy, you're not going to catch me. I guarantee it.
And if they wanted to catch us, they can find out where we are. They can subpoena our Garmin records and find out every damn place we went with that sucker in our damn truck.
Like I said, if I was going to be doing something bad, you wouldn't catch me because I wouldn't be in my 2019 Tundra. I wouldn't have my cell phone. I wouldn't have my Garmin. I wouldn't have, you know where those would be? In someone else's truck on the other side of the goddamn state. That's where those would be with my dogs. Like there's not many bad guys left. There really isn't. You got some mediocre. I'm not saying there is none, but there is a few out there that are still being dirty. But I mean, what are you doing? Baiting? Have cameras up when you're not supposed to.
We self-police harder than any other group, I think.
Oh yeah. Oh
yeah.
Because
about the only way it make me mad, me see somebody out there doing some sideways shit. Because you're gonna run it for everybody acting like that. I want my kid to grow up and be able to run dogs. We ain't gonna be able to do that. We get people pulling that Wyoming shit and running stuff over with snow machines and what have you.
But that's what Chris is saying.
Yeah, I know.
If somebody's really going to do that, Nobody's going to know.
Yep.
They can have their suspicions, but
A real
it's like
poacher
I said,
ain't got a buddy.
yeah,
I tell you
Yep.
that.
and they don't have pictures, and they don't have.
Yep.
It's a different mentality, and it's not a bragger's kind of deal.
You know why Claude
Yeah.
Dallas got busted? Because there was somebody there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Period. He would have
Yeah.
never been caught if there was
But
nobody
on
there.
the other side of that is how come that's why the Game and Fish believes that every hound hunter is illegal because they do it by themselves.
It is I do a lot. I wasn't even. I took that reporter, and I'm like, I'm not used to like being around people a whole lot, So it's a little different when you take somebody. I mean, I got my kids every once in a while, but when I'm lion hunting, probably 75-80% of the time, probably more than that. When I'm bear hunting, it's a different story. When I'm lion hunting, I'm alone, And if I go out there and kill a jaguar, whether I killed it or not, they're going to say a houndsman killed it. Just like the one that was found in Sonora, Mexico, the hide, and they said, "Oh, houndsman killed it." Well, of course, they're going to
But
say that.
but there was no data to support it, so it's just useless conjecture again. And I do think that our solitude, like we kind of can't afford our fortress of solitude anymore, which is why we're doing this all the time, because we got to be out there. We got to control the narrative. We got to be in the narrative, because if we don't write the story, they're gonna paint us up like the bad guy in a cartoon, and it's gonna be ruthless.
If I wasn't here, not AWDA, and everybody that supports AWDA, what percentage of the social media that I'm trying to put out or share wouldn't be put out? Conserve and Protect Arizona put that out. I shared it. A bunch of people shared it after that. I'm seeing a lot of people share it.
Yep.
I think even the guy who, let's go back to that. Let's go back to April 11th. We started with They Came First. It was a really shoddy, and I don't have nothing against Russ McSpadden. He's probably a cool dude. I've vetted him, and
He's a nice fellow.
I've seen his. I would probably hang out with him. He's probably a funny dude. He don't hunt, or he says he don't.
He's got a license.
Yes, the combo license, and but a lot of those guys have combo licenses, for one, so they can go buy a deer tag over the counter on archery season and call it in, because we don't do mandatory check-in.
We need mandatory check-in.
Whole different story. I'm not even going to get into that now. Maybe next week we'll talk about mandatory check-in and piss everybody off. But it was a very shoddy presentation for being the guy who's supposed to be the guy who put forward. That's like me going up and trying to explain. It would have been like me going up and doing Hefflinger's job, the guy who explained it, Jim Hefflinger from Arizona Game and Fish. I couldn't have done it. Like, I could have read it, but there was a lot of work on there. And for them to come back and say, "Oh, it's already predetermined." Well, no shit, it was predetermined. You guys had 6 months to put your president, probably more, but let's just say they put it in a couple months before December, and then another 62 days. Game and Fish had to call them and say, "Hey, it's 62 days in April, or we can do it in March." So they had 60 days, just the same, right? And so we had 62 days, just like they did, to do a presentation to debunk it. And he did. He literally, and he probably had 100 people helping him. But where were they? Why didn't they have 100 people helping him present that petition? Why didn't they put something together the same way?
And I believe that they didn't show up because they didn't think they had a snowball's chance in Hades of passing that thing, and they didn't want everybody's face attached to that. What was going to be a propaganda attack on what they feared would be a very more popular thing than what they hoped it was going to be. Mm-hmm. I think that's all that it was. They didn't want to tie all 10 of their guys' faces to this. That's why you got one person from each little group showed up, and that was it.
Yep.
Because they don't believe in it. If they believed in it, they'd all be there like we were.
I think if they would have done a better job on presenting the I thought he was talking about last night's show. Sorry, guys. I had to give Chris Powell some shit on that one. I think if they would have been better prepared and been more professional, and I don't know if they were allowed to do a slideshow. I'm sure they were. You're presenting a presentation to destroy people's lives, so you should have something good. They should have had dead pictures of lions, a video of a guy throwing the lion in a ditch, but what do you think's going to happen when they sit there and say, "Oh, you guys don't even eat lion"? When let's just quit lion hunting, and that's another thing they're saying. We're not against hunting, just hounds. What do you think's going to happen when they get rid of hounds and those extra couple hundred lions in the last 4 or 5 years? They used 700 lions in 5 years. You guys didn't see that, or they say 2020 to 2024, 5 years, 700 lions were killed. Let's do the math. It's not even 120 a year, 125 a year. I don't know, 150 a year. What is that? That's nothing. Our quota is what, 300 something? I don't know what our quota is. I don't.
I think it's like 311 or something like that.
So they didn't have none of these accusations. They don't have a picture of 10 hounds attacking a biker. I had 2 hounds like running. I'm on, what the hell are they doing? I'm looking at my GPS. I'm like, why are they coming around that mountain so fast? Not barking, running. There was a damn mountain biker on a trail. My dogs were running with him. He come around the corner. He's like, your dog is like, want to follow me. I'm like, maybe they think you're a bear and they're chasing you. And he goes, oh, is that what you're hunting up here? I said, yeah. He goes, I don't know. Maybe I just think, that was it. That was my interaction. Like, I've never had a horrible interaction in public besides the fact that one of my dogs was down 300 yards down the hill while I was treed in one spot. And I'm all, that's weird. Maybe that bear killed him. I don't know what happened. I go down there. It's a camp. My dog got into his lunch meat and ate it. I gave him some lunch meat. That was it. My second encounter, there was a bear. I started a bear right next to a camp, which means that bear was hanging around that camp. The guy was cooking in the morning. That bear was probably like, that smells good. My dogs jump him, runs through his camp. One of my dogs stepped in his Dutch oven. He had biscuits in and smushed some of his biscuits. I'm like, oh, dang. Sorry about that, buddy. I said, I'll make you some more, bring you some. He goes, nah, that's fine. I'm like, you can come take a look at the bear if you want, But they had no proof. They had no facts. They had all these allegations. They had all these accusations. They had all these scenarios, but it was all, I call it, it was all social media PhD. What they think they saw. The one guy got up there and said, the lion grabbed the dog, fell off the rock. Fell off the mountain. It wasn't a mountain. It was a 4 or 6 foot boulder. They felt the back. And that was a pregnant lion. They show pictures of a dog getting out of a truck, 30 of them. Someone texted me, he's like, I know that guy. And they moved camp. They hadn't moved camp a couple miles away. They only went like a mile or 2. And remember I was talking to that lady you guys all making fun of me for like 30 minutes. I told her, I said, you guys, and this is at lunch. So we break for lunch. They do their presentation. We do ours, or Arizona Game and Fish does theirs, and then we do ours. We break for lunch. I grab a lady. Oh, I seen Russ leave. I said, Em, is he leaving for good? She said, yeah. I was like, oh, I wanted to talk to him. Oh, what do you want to talk about? She was the PhD girl on that video that said I run with dogs. And her main complaint was hobby hunters. I said, you don't have to worry about hobby hunters. Like, they go out for the weekend. They don't go kill everything. They don't even have dogs good enough to catch anything half the time. I know when I let my dog sit for 2 months, they're stupid. They want to just run around like idiots. So I talked to her for a little bit and just told her, like, and I probably shouldn't have, but I did. I'm like, you guys got to get your shit together. All your stuff is false information. I'm going to say, let me tell you about the hound world. I may not like that guy or that guy, but when you guys show videos of 30 dogs getting out of the truck, I get text. I get called. I get emails. They know whose dog that is. That dog that fell off the boulder, they know that was a 4 foot boulder, not a 100 foot cliff. I said, I get those. You guys, your people need to get your shit together and not do false stuff. That's not even right, because they'll be proved wrong. That's one thing the hound world will do, is we know everybody and we know everybody's dogs. You played videos on those dogs, and a friend of mine said, I know whose dogs those are. So you guys You're not bringing nothing to it, and they tried to say, well, we're not emotional. We're not, and I'm like, you're not. It's about the money now. It's about the money. And then you want to get into these people. I post some stuff and they're like, we smoked him. Oh, how'd you smoke him? It's already made up. And I'm like, you weren't there. Like, you weren't there. And it's not just about whether they had their mind made up or not. It's a show. If I'm a game and fish guy and I'm a commissioner and I'm Hernandez sitting up there and 10 of those guys show up, 10 of them, that's all they had. Let's just go out on a limb and give them a little credit and say they had 15 there. We just didn't know about, even 20. If they had 10 guys, 15 guys show up and no hound guys show up. This guy literally said on the internet that it don't matter if you had 700 people there. They already had their mind. It does matter, because when you're fighting for something for your state and nobody shows up and it's only those 10, and then you make it a deal because who cares? At that point, that vote could go bad. And they're saying if they don't care enough to show up, then why do we care enough to let it go? It ain't gonna hurt them.
The thing that I thought was hilarious is that they put out that video, Arizonans Unite, on a video conference. 50 Arizona residents. We had to, where were them guys? Arizona already united at the Game and Fish Commission when we all took Friday off work and showed up and put our clothes on and went to work. You know what I mean? These boys sitting around in their PJs on a conference call. What 50 anonymous Arizonans? That's all y'all got's anonymous people. And their presentation, I don't think it could have been better, because it was very clear from the get-go that the Game and Fish Commission was only interested in facts and science. So if that's all they said.
They said they brought their science. They said they brought facts and science, and we ignored it. And I'm like,
they didn't have any. They cited not a single study that supported any of their claims. They have absolutely no science to stand on. They're trying to convince the world that water ain't wet, and the grass don't grow, and the sky ain't blue. So it don't matter what you say, it's still going to sound like what it is. It's a barrel of conjecture, tomfoolery, horseshit, and lies. And that's all they've got. And so they can't do no better than that. It's going to be like that every time. What we got to watch out for is the unsuspecting person that's not going to read the studies, that's not going to fact check them, ain't going to believe their lies. What I would love to do is I'd love to sue them for a lawsuit every single time they tell a lie, because they can't. Legally, they can't. And if I had SCI's money or CBD's money, I would sue them jokers every time every false claim they make, every single false claim. And there's no gray area. When you say something is this way, that is a lawsuit. Even if you don't win, you tie them up in court, they're going to settle out of court. Let them pay us to fight them. That's what I'd love to do.
Yep.
What everybody doesn't realize is whether the Game Commission has their mind made up in advance or not. Just like Chris said, you got to make a showing, because the antis are not going to quit. They made the comment that they have to win every time. We only have to win once.
They did say that.
Sink in. Yeah, let that sink in, guys.
And they're right.
We win once, and that's right, because then that's when it ends. That day it ends. So, and everybody says, well, it's not, they're already going to, you don't have to make a showing because it's going to be already predetermined. But when you don't go and they do, and the Game Commission gets beat up and beat up and beat up and beat up, and the houndsmen don't ever show up, and the Game Commission is going to come to the conclusion that, why are we going through this fight? Why are we standing in the middle and getting beat up when the other side doesn't even seem to care enough to show up? And so if you quit making a showing, it's over.
And that's something I want to caveat on to all the hound hunters that didn't show up for whatever reason, and I don't care what it is. We say it all the time, this is not a sport, it's a lifestyle. So it's your life. If it's not more important than everything else you could have been doing that day, then what the hell are you talking shit for? Keep your mouth shut. If you're not going to either get on the wagon or get out of the way. Because you don't get to play, you don't get to go out and play Ben Lilly once a month and talk about, I'm a hound hunter, look how cool I am, and then not show up when they're trying to take it from us because you had to go to the lake, or you had to go to dinner, or your mother-in-law's in town, or you had to work, or the sky was falling. I don't give a hoot. I just started a new job. I can't afford to lose it, but I told them I got to have this day off because I will be at the Game and Fish Commission at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I won't leave there until I'm done. And they give me the day off because that's, if they hadn't, I was still going to be there. It don't matter. I don't want to hear I couldn't afford it because I promise you, I'm a broke as a joke gets, and I show up to the dang thing.
Yep.
If I can be there, so can all of y'all.
And
every single time.
you don't have to be there. You can go to the regions. There's people in Pine
Yeah.
Top. There's
Mhm.
Yuma, Pine Top, Yuma, Tucson, and Flagstaff. But at least,
you got to
if
get
you
off your
can't make
couch.
it, if you absolutely can't make it, I hope you send in emails because I got a disturbing phone call saying, why do they have 3,600 emails and you have 10? I said, what? I said, there's no way. There's 10 from my house alone from just people I know, my kids, and so I don't know. When I heard that, I was kind of depressed. Like, it don't take nothing. Everybody has email on their phone. Everybody has email on their phone.
Yep.
So,
Guys, I'm gonna check out, and
yeah, it's
I
been
will
2 hours.
be
I got to get up at like 3 in the morning.
next
All right,
Wednesday. I will be in Washington State on the Snake River fishing, and I probably won't have time for this nonsense.
That's
There you
fair
go.
enough.
There you
Not
go,
making
Derek.
time.
There you
Not
go,
making
Derek.
time.
Some of that.
All right, guys. Well, I hope everybody
Have a
enjoyed.
good evening.
I probably didn't get
Yes,
as much
sir.
out as I should have, but oh well.
Yeah.
They'll be next week. Oh, and if you guys want to listen to us on podcast from now on, just go to Apple Podcasts, look up Freecasting, or Spotify and look up Freecasting, or just go to my YouTube or awda.com and I'll get those all links posted. So you guys can listen to this while you're driving if you didn't have time to listen tonight.
Yeah.
How's that?
And I'm probably going to do a live on TikTok tomorrow at some point. Same name as right here on the bottom of my deal. So I'll probably be live on there for quite some time tomorrow, and just answer questions. See, I'm going to try to get some guests on and just get involved. And I got there's stuff coming that we're working on, guys, in a lot of different angles.
Share.
Share. Yep.
Very important. All right, Benny. Appreciate it. Derek.
Yes, sir.
We'll talk to you guys later.
See you.
We are out.